Thank you, Faiz, for that lovely presentation, and thank you, Peter, for your earlier introduction. My name is Grace Xiao. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm currently an undergraduate fellow with the Cogut Institute, concentrating in the history of art and architecture. This evening, I'll be presenting a brief overview of my senior honors thesis, tentatively titled Dislocation, Diaspora, and the Camera Image, Zarina Bimji in 1980s Afro-Asian Britain. So my project takes up contemporary lens-based artist Zarina Bimji's untitled series of 10 large format Polaroid photographs taken in 1989 during a 2-day residency at the Victoria and Albert Museum, or the V&A. Before I fully dive into my project, I want to begin by sharing an experience I had while conducting research that will hopefully set up a framework for what I aim to accomplish in my thesis. In late August of last year, I found myself in London on a travel grant, primarily conducting research at the V&A and its archives. On one of those days, I went to the Young V&A, the V&A's Children's Museum, because I knew that one of the photographs from Bimji's series was on view there for a section of the museum on self-portraiture. The image that I expected to counter is what I have here displayed on the right side of the screen. However, when I eventually found the photograph, this is what I actually encountered. So this image that, due to glare and reflected light, was barely visible. So if you've ever seen a dark photograph hung up in a museum with glazing in front of it, then you can understand my frustration with this setup. In order to get a proper view of the image, I had to orient my body to the side of the work, and even then it was difficult to make out all the sharp details. What was I demanding from the work, and how did my difficulty in accessing this photograph in the space of the museum illuminate questions surrounding my expectations of visibility from the museum as an institution, from photography as a medium, and from the South Asian femme body in this work specifically? So this question of visibility, as it relates both to questions of identity and to the specificities of the medium of photography, stood at the core of my research project. I ask, given photography's ties to histories of colonialism, in this case, the specificities of the British project in South Asia, is it possible for colonized bodies and peoples to reclaim the camera image? And within this project, and for third world women specifically, to what extent is visibility dangerous, and to what extent is visibility productive? Bimji's series engages with the various collections of the V&A while also inserting objects tied to her personal history and at times her own body. Through her work, I examine photography's historical and continued use as a violent tool for coloniality in South Asia, pointing to how Bimji engages with this genealogy and seeks to undermine it, perhaps even counterintuitively by working within the language of the camera lens. Photography's fraught claim to objectivity comes in its ability to package stories within the neat boundaries of a frame, and because of this, it proved effective in aiding the British colonial state's reduction of South Asian peoples to visual spectacle and objects to be surveilled. And yet Bimji manages to undermine this apparent completeness, infallibility, and objectivity of the camera, instead asserting the fluidity and instability of subjectivity and foregrounding a refusal of full visibility. When I see Bimji's work, I see moments of ambiguity, difficulty, and inscrutability, not in the negative, but as generative modes that challenge the ease and transparency of the photograph in order to think through power, politics, and visibility. Her work, I suggest, proposes a new way of engaging with photography that detaches the medium from its perceived purely optical nature. So while Bimji is perhaps most known for her video work from the early 2000s, I situate her as an artist emerging from the 1980s, which saw the simultaneous establishment of the British Black arts movement and the growth of third world feminist movements across the global South and its diasporas. The British Black arts movement brought with it new understandings of diasporic cultural production, crafting a British identity outside of whiteness that included Afro-Asian political identities. And third world feminist movements during this time began diverging from white hegemonic understandings of feminism, seeking to center the specific experiences of women of color and to build solidarity transnationally throughout the global South. Taking the lead from this historical moment, I utilized Bimji's work as a way to bring closer a third world feminist critique of power and agency and a diasporic critique of essentialized identities, particularly as they both relate to the camera image, navigating questions about identity and representation that still remain in contention today. Thank you.